Number 1. This goes out to Think Tank USA. If, as you say, the demolition was sequenced, then you have no answer to my main point, which is that it would have taken 72 days with 12 people doing nothing but loading explosives to bring down just a single one of the buildings. Now, if it wasn't a technical demolition, you could have argued that the conspirators just loaded up a large bomb anywhere in the building, and this wouldn't have required the proportional manpower and man-hours to demolish the World Trade Centers as it would have to destroy the J.L. Hudson building. But since you admit that it would have had to be a sequence and technical demolition, the most technical demolition in the history of the world to be exact, then you have to explain the following huge hole in your argument. The J.L. Hudson building in Detroit, Michigan is the tallest building ever raised, and it was 439 feet, 26 stories. Now, World Trade Center 7 was 570 feet, 47 stories, or 1.3 times the height of the J.L. Hudson. World Trade Centers 1 and 2 were 1,368 feet, 110 stories, or 3.12 times the height of the J.L. Hudson. So on 9/11, 3 buildings were raised with perfect precision. One was 131 feet taller than the record tower, and the other 2, minus cell phone antennas, were 929 feet taller than the record holder. Now, according to James Santoro of Controlled Demolition Incorporated, for them to bring down the Hudson building, and I quote, "It took us 24 days with 12 people doing nothing but loading explosives." Now, the constructions of the towers in the Hudson buildings were different, and the towers would have needed less explosives if they were the same height. However, the towers were much taller and had more columns to cut as a result. Even if they did have the same amount of columns, it would have still taken over 72 days with 12 people doing nothing but loading explosives. That's just one building. Now, if you take into account the second tower in the World Trade Center 7, you begin to see how just how irrationally logical your theory really is. Okay. Number 2. You asserted that the investigators should have tested for explosives, and since they didn't, then it's a sign of a cover. However, the fact that the NIST didn't test for explosives can only lead to one of 2 of the following conclusions. Either A, they didn't check for explosives because it was clear that explosives were not used based on the available visual evidence alone, or B, the NIST researchers are complicit in the conspiracy. Now, which is more likely? That it was clear from the visual evidence that explosives were not used, or that every single one of the hundreds of people involved in the NIST report were so evil that A, they either covered up for the mass murderers, or B, were actually part of the conspiracy to mass murder 3,000 American citizens. You be the judge. Number 3, and this is the one directed at this side of paradise, regarding his assertions that the World Trade Centers were designed to take the impact of a plane. Okay, first of all, the test upon which you base your assertion was only to calculate the initial impact, not for the subsequent fires. And it was calculated using a 707 traveling at half speed, not a 757 traveling at full speed. Here's a couple of quotes that you might find enlightening. There were only 2 problems. The first, of course, was that no study of the impact of a 600-mile-an-hour plane ever existed. The second problem was that no one thought to take into account the fires that would inevitably break out when the jetliner's fuel exploded, exactly as the B-25s had, and if Wine was the Trade Center, World Trade Center's Cassandra, fire protection would become its Achilles heel. To the best of our knowledge, here's the second quote. To the best of our knowledge, little was known about the effects of fire from such an aircraft, and no designs were prepared for that circumstance. Indeed, at the time, no fireproofing systems were available to control the effects of such fires. Those are the assertions of Leslie Robertson, lead structural engineer of the World Trade Center, who actually did the calculations to which you are referring to. Okay, thanks again, truthers. It's always fun putting you fuckers in your place. Peace out.